My name is Emma Walker, and I'm 34 years old. 3 months ago, my marriage officially ended in a courtroom. I had been married to Ryan Walker for 15 years. From the outside, our life looked perfect. Beautiful house, successful business, comfortable lifestyle. But the truth was far more complicated. The moment everything changed happened during the final divorce hearing. Ryan's lawyer leaned toward him and whispered a few quiet words. I didn't hear them, but I saw the effect immediately. Ryan's confident smile disappeared. His face turned pale, and his hands began shaking as he stared down at the documents he had just signed. For the first time in years, I smiled. But to understand why that moment mattered so much, you have to know the story behind it. I met Ryan when I was 17 years old. I had graduated high school early and was desperate to start my own life. I found a job as a file clerk at a small law firm. The pay was terrible and the work was repetitive, but I loved having my own independence. Within a year, I worked my way up to legal assistant. I discovered I was good with paperwork, organization, and numbers. I liked understanding how systems worked and keeping everything in order. Ryan was 24 when we met. He attended a networking event hosted by the firm, and from the moment he walked in, he seemed larger than life. He was charming, confident, and full of big plans. He talked constantly about building a real estate business and becoming successful. I believed every word. We got married when I was 19. A year later, our son Ethan was born. Life moved quickly after that. I worked part-time while raising Ethan and continued saving whatever money I could. My grandmother had always given me one piece of advice. A woman should always have her own money. Not hidden money, she would say, just something that belonged to her alone. When I was 23, Ryan's business finally started growing. He asked me to quit my job and help him run the company. He said he trusted me more than anyone else and needed my help managing the back office, so I joined him. Over the next 11 years, I handled almost everything behind the scenes. I managed the bookkeeping, scheduled contractors, handled paperwork, organized meetings, and kept the company running smoothly. I balanced that work with raising our son and managing our household. Ryan was the face of the company, but I was the structure holding it together. At industry events, people congratulated Ryan for his vision and success. I stood beside him as his wife. No one asked about the long nights I spent fixing spreadsheets or organizing financial records. Slowly, things began to change. Ryan became more distant. He stayed late at work more often and stopped asking my opinion about decisions. Eventually, he started criticizing me, my clothes, my cooking, my supposed lack of ambition. It was ironic, considering I was running half his business for free. Then, one evening, everything ended. Ryan came home, sat down at the kitchen table, and calmly told me he wanted a divorce. His voice was completely emotionless, like he was discussing a business deal. Then he added something even worse. He wanted the house, the cars, the business, everything. The only thing he didn't care about keeping was our 15-year-old son. He said, "You can keep Ethan," casually. In that moment, it felt like 15 years of marriage had been erased in a single sentence. But what Ryan didn't know was that I had discovered something 3 years earlier, something that completely changed how I saw our life. 3 years before the divorce, I was reviewing the company accounts late at night. Ryan had told me he was working late again, but I noticed something strange in the financial records. There were transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. At first, I assumed it was a simple mistake. But when I looked closer, I found more transactions, then more. Soon, a clear pattern appeared. By 3 in the morning, I had uncovered the truth. Ryan's business empire wasn't successful at all. It was drowning in debt. Our house had 3 mortgages, totaling $1.1 million, even though its market value was only about $850,000. The company had nearly $500,000 in debt through credit lines, unpaid vendors, and taxes. Ryan had also lost massive amounts of money through cryptocurrency investments and gambling. There were luxury purchases, expensive trips, and even an apartment rented for another woman. When I added everything together, the numbers were shocking. We weren't wealthy. We were hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. At first, I wanted to confront him immediately. I wanted to demand answers and force him to explain everything. But I knew Ryan too well. He would twist the story, deny the facts, or blame me somehow. Instead, I made a different decision. I protected myself. My retirement account from my earlier job had grown to about $180,000. My grandmother had also left me $340,000 in inheritance. I had never mixed that money with our shared finances. With the help of my uncle, a retired accountant, I placed the entire amount into a legal trust for Ethan. The trust made sure the money belonged only to him and could never be touched by Ryan or creditors. After that, I began quietly documenting everything: mortgage statements, loan agreements, credit accounts, business debts. I saved copies of every document and stored them safely. Then, I waited. For 3 years, I pretended I knew nothing. I attended parties, smiled at clients, and watched Ryan continue building his illusion of success. I knew eventually the truth would catch up with him. When he finally asked for the divorce, I almost laughed, because Ryan thought he was asking for valuable assets. In reality, he was demanding responsibility for enormous debt. At mediation, I played the role everyone expected. I appeared tired, sad, and defeated. I told the mediator I didn't want to fight. All I asked for was $50,000, my personal belongings, and shared custody of Ethan. Ryan agreed instantly. He believed he had won everything. His mother bragged about it to relatives. My former friend secretly reported my conversations back to Ryan. His new girlfriend proudly redecorated the house I had once loved. I stayed quiet and waited for the final hearing. The divorce court session was brief. Ryan's lawyer presented the agreement. My lawyer confirmed the terms. The judge asked if I understood I was giving up major assets. I said yes. The documents were passed around for signatures. Ryan signed quickly without reading carefully. I signed slowly. Then, Ryan's lawyer reached the liability disclosure pages. That's when everything changed. He leaned toward Ryan and quietly explained what the numbers meant. Ryan grabbed the documents and finally looked at the details. The color drained from his face. He had just accepted ownership of every property and every dollar of debt connected to them. He stood up, shouting that something was wrong, but the judge reviewed the documents calmly. Ryan had signed everything voluntarily. His lawyer had even advised him earlier to conduct a financial audit, but Ryan refused. The judge finalized the agreement. Ryan got the house, the business, and the cars. He also got nearly $2 million of debt. I walked out of that courtroom with my small settlement and complete freedom. Within weeks, Ryan's girlfriend left him. Within months, creditors started calling. Eventually, the business collapsed entirely. Meanwhile, Ethan and I moved into a small apartment. It wasn't luxurious, but it was peaceful. For the first time in years, I was living a life that truly belonged to me. Months later, Ryan showed up at my door looking exhausted and defeated. He said he didn't realize things were so bad. He hinted that maybe we could work together to fix the situation. I listened quietly. Then I reminded him of something he said during the divorce. "You wanted everything," I told him, "and that's exactly what you got." Then I closed the door and walked back into my home, finally free after 15 long years.